Keith Olbermann is back and crazier than ever.
Terrorist Trump must be defeated, devoured, rebuild the world, destroyed, and his supporters move from our society. Amy Coney Barrett.
What's going on in American politics today? You have to understand that all institutions can be broken. The left believes that all institutions can be broken. Why? Well, because Trump has already fundamentally broken the country. And therefore, every rule can be violated. Every term can be redefined. The entire country is now suffering from Trump derangement syndrome in one form or another, which is why the return of Keith Olbermann is worthy of note. So Keith Olbermann, you'll remember, used to have a show on ESPN. Then he was on ESPN2. Then he was on like ESPN 6. Then he was on like MSNBC. He was on Current TV. He was at GQ magazine. He's held a variety of jobs. He's a rather peripatetic figure. So Keith Olbermann was back to lecture you, America, on why Donald Trump is the most evil, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad person in the entire history of the world. And not only that, anyone remotely associated with Donald Trump should go to jail. Here is Keith Olbermann being very serious.
The task is twofold. The terrorist Trump must be defeated, must be destroyed, must be devoured at the ballot box. And then he and his enablers and his supporters and his collaborators and the Mike Lees and the William Barrs and the Sean Hannitys and the Mike Pences and the Rudy Giulianis and the Kyle Rittenhouses and the Amy Coney Barretts must be prosecuted and convicted and removed from our society while we try to rebuild it. And to rebuild the world Trump has nearly destroyed by turning it over to a virus.
We must take all of these people out, and we must jail them and then possibly guillotine them. From Kyle Rittenhouse to Amy Coney Barrett, they must be prosecuted. I don't know why Amy Coney Barrett, but she's bad. Keith Olbermann. But it's this attitude, it's this bizarre attitude that lies behind so much of our modern politics, which is we're at absolute crisis point because Donald Trump. Okay, here is the reality. Donald Trump is not a threat to our institutions. You pretending that Trump is such a threat to our institutions that you get to destroy the institutions, that's an actual threat to our institutions. Which brings us to the issue of the Supreme Court. The entire media and Democratic Party simply decided to redefine terms in basic English so that they no longer have to deal with the ramifications of those terms. Specifically, they decided to redefine the term court packing. So before, court packing meant that you were just going to add a bunch of seats to the Supreme Court in order to put a bunch of people who agreed with you politically on the court and therefore change the nature of the court. It has meant this for some 4 generations in the United States. The left understands that it's unpopular. They understand that most Americans are not in favor of fundamentally reshaping our institutions, so they just lie. So for several months now, we've been talking about the fact that during the Democratic primaries, many of the candidates talked about packing the court, even before RBG died. Then RBG died, and it became a rote talking point for many Democrats that they would look at packing the court if they gained control of the Senate. So, over the weekend, here was Joe Biden trying to redefine the term court packing. So this has been his consistent message. Last week, Joe Biden said that he would tell you about court packing after the election. He just simply refused to answer a question on whether he would go along with packing the court. Here was Biden last week in Arizona.
They'll know my opinion on court packing when the election is over. Now look, I know it's a great question, y'all, and I don't blame you for asking it. But you know, the moment I answer that question, the headline in every one of your papers will be about that.
He's specifically asked whether voters deserve to hear an answer on court packing. And Biden's like, nope, they don't deserve to hear an answer. This man has nothing but scorn for the American voter and scorn for American journalists. He does not care about answering the questions, Joe Biden. I'm not going to answer questions because if I answer questions, you might write about me. And I want you to write about Donald Trump. And he's openly saying this to the media. And so the media, like the good little lapdogs they are simply reflecting it back at him. It's incredible.
Got to ask you about packing the courts. And I know that You said yesterday you aren't going to answer the question until after the election. But this is the number one thing that I've been asked about from viewers in the past couple of days.
Well, you've been asked by the viewers who are probably Republicans who don't want me continuing to talk about what they're doing to the court right now.
Well, sir, don't the voters deserve to know?
No, they don't. I'm not going to play his game. He'd love me to talk about, and I've already said something on court pack. He'd love that to be the discussion instead of what he's doing now.
Okay, that is the most absurd answer in the world. No, voters don't deserve to know where I stand on wrecking the third branch of government. Okay, and then Joe Biden lays out the narrative that has become immediately the rote narrative for the entire Democratic Party and many members of the media. And it's unbelievable how everything switched on a dime. Okay, he decides that he's going to lay out a narrative whereby the term court packing itself no longer means that you pack the court with extra seats from people of your political persuasion. Instead, court packing now means legally filling the seats that are empty with people who are duly nominated and confirmed. I'm not kidding. This is his actual case.
The only court packing going on right now. It's going on with Republicans in the court now. It's not constitutional what they're doing. We should be focused on what's happening right now. And the fact is that the only packing going on is this court is being packed now by the Republicans after the vote has already begun.
What the hell is he talking about? Filling a seat that is empty when you have a majority in the Senate is not court packing. That's literally the constitutional process. It is not adding seats to the Supreme Court.